Welcome to ORF Middle East Policy Wall. My name is Mannat and I have with me today Maryam AlMansoori. Maryam is a founder of Rebound Materials, which is a company committed to providing a digital ecosystem for all recycled materials. She is also a member of the UAE Circular Economy Council. So welcome, Maryam.
Hi,
Thank you so much for making the time to join us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, the UAE in particular recently just came out with a federal decree number 11 last year. And a big part of that decree is to look at how can we reduce the impacts of climate change, particularly through key energy sectors, including, infrastructure, energy, and waste management. And a lot of what you do is very relevant to the priorities of the government in terms of emission reductions and circularity and waste management. So could you maybe just walk us through what your vision for Rebound was, how it came to unfold, and also what makes it really the global gateway for material circularity?
Sure. I mean, you just said it. The vision is to become the global gateway for material circularity. It's about addressing supply chain and reverse logistics challenges. Today, we live in a world which is so fast-paced. People don't account for the waste that they produce, but the significance of materials that this waste holds. And so we look at it as secondary materials, secondary raw materials, and that's a digital ecosystem that Rebound is providing and catering to the stakeholders of all sectors and all industries to monetize and to create value of it. How it came to unfold is through a personal love of mine for elephants. I grew up admiring elephants, adopting them, and teaching myself about the environment and the habitat degradation that humans have caused year on year and decades on decades on animals and animal health. Pollution is a big part of it because of what we leave behind when we enter an area where creatures live and the wildlife. So it was like, okay, how come there's a lot of pollution, but then there's a huge recycled materials market, let alone one that's about to reach $713 billion. So there needs to be a gap, and that's where, a neutral, facilitating, non-bias platform and marketplace, which is beyond transactional, it's mainly data-driven, came to place and came to picture.
Wow, that's very fascinating. And I think your personal story is so inspiring that I think what you're doing, your professional work, is very much inspired from your personal experiences as well. And I think a lot of what you do today is it's such an intersection of sustainability, impact, but also technology.
Yeah.
So could you maybe also talk us through the role of technology and, UAE's leadership in being able to push for certain innovations has really helped you shape Rebound and some of its own agendas and strategies and model?
Yes. We are very, very, very blessed that in the UAE, we have forward thinking leaders that never say never. The word impossible is not in our dictionary. Mm-hmm. So being part of this community, whether local or non-local, as a resident, automatically you get that inspiration transferred. And if the UAE taught us one thing, it taught us that one hand can't clap. 7 Emirates, big power. And so the importance of collaboration is key. Trying to be better than what we were yesterday is also a lesson that our leaders have passed down to us. And so we only compete with ourselves. And the role of technology in the last, I think, 2 decades, I think it was since starting 2010, when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid at the World Government Summit, was announcing that everything is going to be a click away, whether it's our healthcare, whether it's like getting our Emirates ID, amongst many other things. And what that quickly unfolded to and unraveled was that tech helps bring everything together. It gives accessibility, speed, efficient use of time. And so today, when we look at companies that are providing tech as a solution. These are basically service providers. We're starting to move away from only product-based companies to now product and services or services-only based companies. So, and that's all thanks to the power of tech. Tech, when used well, has a tenfold impact rather than when used just in silo alone to address one point and then cut the ripple effect.
That's very well said. And I want to double click on a very important thing that you brought up, which is collaboration, right? Across different stakeholders in the ecosystem to really bring this vision to reality around circularity particularly. Yeah. And I think I want to ask you more about the policy coherence, because while it's, I think what you're doing is extremely important, but there's as much as you can do alone.
Yeah.
There are various stakeholders involved in the entire value chain of material circularity, from industry, from policymakers to tech innovators to implementation, startups like yourselves, and also people, general public, right? So there is a value chain. How do you really ensure coherence and synergy in this value chain to be able to ensure circularity of materials? So can you maybe walk us through the whole process that you follow?
Of course. I come from a background, my first job was working for the Cabinet of Ministers and working for government and reviewing policies and regulations emphasize the importance of stakeholder, not just collaboration, but also alignment. You all need to be on the same page in order to achieve the same goal. When you talk about the circular economy or just the space of the environment in a broader picture, because everything we do has an environmental impact, even if it's a bank transfer. So with that, the value chain starts not just from humans, but from nature. How does, for an example, the tree grows? Yeah. How much water does it take? Sunlight, emissions that are sequestered, and then how does that tree turn into the paper that we use, the napkin that we use, and then how is that napkin or paper discarded? Where does it end up? And then if it ends up in the environment, what's the impact? If it ends up in the economy, what is the impact? So that entire story is executed for all materials, ones that we are aware of, ones that we are not aware of. And when you look at it from a design thinking perspective, knowing the role of each stakeholder, whether it's a private sector company, whether it's a logistics, whether it's a certification or inspection, SMEs, policymakers, it's important to know what their contribution is and what can they not contribute to. When this is all clear, businesses will work together to create a bigger impact. We collaborate with everyone, and us as Rebound, I always say this, we are a neutral facilitator. We are only focused on our tech, which is a platform connecting the industry. We are not an aggregator, we're not a recycler, we're not a waste management company, and we have no intention in becoming that because we don't want to compete with our partners. The second partners and stakeholders feel like you're going to start taking bits of their business, it becomes unsteady. And at the same time, businesses fail when they try to do everything at once. One of the first books I read when starting Rebound was How Startups Fail. And it's very important to know what to engage in versus what not to engage in. It's very difficult at the start to continuously offer that one unique offering, but when it creates value, word of mouth spreads quickly, and then just, the business makes sense.
Right. I think a lot of what you do is so, I think we echo that at ORF as well, because we also consider ourselves as facilitators of bringing the right stakeholders together to be able to facilitate dialogue. And I think and very rightly said that you need to know what you can do and what you can't do instead of trying to do it all. So I think that prioritization is extremely important. Maryam, you've also worked in the government before, right? You worked with the UAE cabinet, I believe. You've been part of some very important federal projects and ensuring their implementation as well. Has your experience at the government shaped your experience and your role with the startup. What learnings have you taken from the government into your role as a leader in a startup environment? So if you could talk us through that, that would be extremely useful.
Working for the government has been not just a civil honor, but also a career pleasure, because it opens up your eyes to a lot of things. What you read in the news is just the last bit of what has been years in the making. And what I took from my experience in government was mainly about time, about conformity to government regulations and standards. But again, also the importance of stakeholders and connecting the dots. How this transpired or was transacted into Rebound and building Rebound. So Rebound is the only marketplace today globally with its own certification protocol. From the very start, our investment was not in marketing. It was not in going to trade fairs. It was not in, having the best fanciest tech with like AI and all. It was in creating a certification protocol with environmental lawyers, with quality stakeholders, with government colleagues, to create a protocol that unifies the recycling and circularity language worldwide. That protocol is embedded in a very organic way in our platform and marketplace processes, the way that we vet companies, and the way that basically the transactions take place. Now, why would a marketplace spend so much time understanding the legal side and the quality side more than the quantity? Because if we make money from commission, we should just care about quantity. But what I learned from government is focusing on small wins or quick wins is not sustainable. So this is what has kept Rebound today distinguished, different, unique to other marketplaces. We focus on quality before and beyond anything else. Time is of value. It's the only thing money can't buy. And we're always on time. We try to keep up with how the industry is changing, just like government. Government is always trying to be proactive. Us at Rebound also, we always try to be proactive. And last but not least, the stakeholders, because a company is just a shell. If you think of it, it's a business license. The first asset of a company is the people. So you need to have the right people to run the company and to run the day-to-day operations. But then beyond that, you need to have customers, because they're the ones that essentially will bring in financial stability and sustainability. And your stakeholders are your customers, whether they're direct or indirect. You need to maintain a network of people that will always help you grow your business 2 times faster than what you would have alone.
Wow, I think you already have achieved and accomplished so much with Rebound in such short span of time. But what does success to you look like in the next 5 years? How would you define success for Rebound?
That's a very difficult question. Okay, an acquisition by a company such as Amazon or Alibaba is like my manifestation board.
I think I want to say that looking into the camera.
Yeah.
So I hope Amazon and Alibaba are listening.
I hope Amazon and Alibaba, are listening. But the thing is, when you work on something with all your heart, but not just you and your team and your colleagues, you want it to be the best of the best. Yeah. And in the next 5 years, let's reflect on the last 2.5 years. In the last 2.5 years, everything we thought we were going to do right was wrong. Meaning, whatever we wrote in our feasibility studies, whatever we assumed from secondary research was completely different than what actually happened on the ground and what is happening today. Beyond that, we had to face the challenges of externalities, such as what's happening today around the world and the spike of costs of logistics, or, the lack of awareness of consumers, or different elements that fall into place. As a startup, having to absorb externalities that you never want happening takes a very different kind of punch to your gut or stomach. And so that builds resilience, it builds flexibility. We were very creative in how we generated revenue and what worked and what didn't work. And we're always updating. But looking into the next year or so, it's a growth plan. It's different packaged product, different packaged services of our product, which is our platform, for different types of users and customers. And so we're expanding that network of getting in more businesses, more governments on board to align and see what we've created, giving back to the industry in terms of data. Some of it would be for free, some of it would be paid. And so after that, by a few years, I think an acquisition by a company that would help include the marketplace's transactions and movements of goods in warehousing and logistics would be great. I think that would add value, especially because of our certification protocol. We have mastered the science of secondary materials, whether it's in raw form or integrated into a finished product. And that really does speak commerce in a lot of areas in e-commerce. And it's the future economy. Our future commodities exchanges would be based on, recycled copper and recycled zinc. So that's how I want Rebound to continue to grow and to be recognized in the next few years. It's that it is the gateway for multiple reasons.
Wow, I think all of that sounds very promising, Maryam. And I think, like you said, in fact, I would argue that it is an industry for the present because we are in a world which is resource constrained.
Yep.
And circularity is extremely important to ensure longevity of a lot of programs and projects and agendas, including the energy transition. So I think a lot of what you're doing is crucial and critical to ensure that we can achieve, the energy transition that a lot of the governments, particularly in the UAE, has been prioritizing. But I know Rebound is a global effort and it's a global agenda and it's a global platform. And I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
But before you leave, I do want you to sort of give advice to all the young entrepreneurs out there, particularly women, on, from your experience, what can they do and what can they learn from their, what advice would you like to give all the young entrepreneurs out there on their journey, and what more can they do to be able to, bring their dreams to fruition when it comes to their ideas?
I think my advice would be, don't chase trends. Work on something that you like and that you believe in, because waking up every day as an entrepreneur is not something easy. You're always thinking about a million things in a second. And so make sure that it's worth it. Study the market and industry, know your competition, know your strengths, but also your weaknesses and threats. That is very important. Don't go chat with ChatGPT and assume that the market is out there and, I'll launch something and it'll work. If the first 10 people that you ask about your business idea are not on board, then it's probably a business idea that needs refinement. Never get unmotivated or demotivated when people try to bring you down or question your idea or tell you that it won't work. God knows the first year and a half when I was building Rebound, it had a lot of opposition. And since we've launched and once we've launched till today, all of these opposers are now on board, surprisingly, which says something. So don't let words get to you. Be very sharp in where you're going and what you want to achieve. For women in particular, our strength is that we are very naturally more smart emotionally. Men are different, of course, they have different abilities, but with women, we're very emotional, and at the same time, the wiring of our left and right brain is thicker and more different than men. That allows us to multitask. And so we need to always take pride in that and use it to the advantage of whatever we are building.
Wow, that's very well said, Maryam. I think persistence and resilience are just key, like you said, for anyone trying to brave getting into the startup industry.
Yes.
So thank you for your time. I hope everyone who is listening can really, learn from you. And so thank you once again.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me at ORF.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.